Hey Mama, it's Corinne here, and welcome back to my modern village, where we talk about anything and everything that has to do with you and your littles. So this morning we are getting ready to go on a road trip, a couple hour drive or so, to head up to one of my husband's cousin's kids' first birthday party. So of course we're bringing both boys with us. It's a pool party, lots of food. Yesterday though, our cousin texted us just kind of asking about, my older son's food allergies and what he might be able to have. So unfortunately, he's not going to be able to eat most of what they have. So this morning we're kind of scrambling, trying to get together like some food to bring with us, some treats, a cupcake he can have, a bag of cookies, some lunch and goodies, as well as of course me trying to scramble and pump, have bottles, get all that good stuff going too. So it's kind of crazy how much prep work it takes just to go on a quick 2-hour road trip, but I'll show you some of the things we have. So I'm just packing a little lunch for him. This is like a vegan mac and cheese with some hot dogs. And then of course just some snacks. And then we've got his own little desserts and stuff to bring too. And then of course we brought some own desserts too, because it's really hard for little kids to see other kids eating desserts and they can't have any. So we're getting all of that put together so that way we can get out of here. So when you have a newborn, your road trips look more like this. One kid in the back seat and the other kid in the back seat. Yep, I'm gonna ride in the middle seat of the truck all the way on our trip here. It's only a couple hours, but definitely makes it easier to check on the baby. So the amount of stuff we have to pack is literally ridiculous. We have 2 diaper bags with a change of clothes for both babies. Saying hi. Good job. We have the snack bag, which has the backup desserts that my son can eat because of his allergies. It has a frozen bag of breast milk. Hi, Camden. Frozen breast milk. We have all of our swim stuff because it is a pool party. I have a change of clothes. I brought a dress just in case. Okay, so it's actually the next day after our road trip. We did a pretty quick turnaround. We drove up and back home the same day. It ended up being a pretty busy day, quite a bit of driving back and forth, from my mother-in-law's house to where the actual party was and then home again too. And we ended up getting home quite a bit later than we thought we would. So I didn't really get a chance to do much filming, but definitely wanted to catch you up. So, got everybody loaded up and headed out of town. We like to stop and grab breakfast on the way up, just our little tradition. So we got my son all set up with his little tablet, so just that way he can watch some shows, just kind of keep himself entertained, and his little hash brown, so he looks pretty happy here. But for the baby, for Logan, he's been exclusively breastfed now for, he's a little over 16 weeks old. And he's really been struggling with the bottle. So I did pump, the morning of, so it was nice and fresh. It wasn't thawed milk or anything. So I had that with me, and sure enough, probably, 10-15 minutes or so into the trip, he was already getting fussy. So I did give him the bottle since I was in the back seat with him, and he eventually fell asleep. So here he is being nice and quiet, at least for a little bit. Unfortunately, that sleeping baby did not last very long, and I spent most of the rest of the drive. I would say he probably made it, 40-45 minutes total, and then he got pretty fussy, so I was singing and playing with him and just pretty much doing anything I could to keep his attention and try and keep him happy. So by the time we got to my mother-in-law's house, I was a little stressed out, but we made it. We got there, and he was doing okay. So we hung out for a while, visited with, like I said, my mother-in-law, and then we went over to our cousin's house and headed out for the party. Okay, so Logan actually did really good on the drive from my mother-in-law's house over to our cousin's house, which was about 40-45 minutes or so. So I was a little worried, but he actually did pretty good. He actually napped most of the time, so I think he was really tired. Before we headed out, we have our little trick where when he's getting fussy, we roll the windows down a little bit in the back seat, and the air just kind of, the white noise sort of just kind of helps calm him. So we made it to the party without incident, which was great. Okay, sorry about that. Had to take a quick break and see if I could get the baby to sleep. He's working on it. But anyway, so we made it to the party. Honestly, this place is like every kid's dream. There's a giant in-ground trampoline. There's a huge pool with a big old lagoon. And then they even have a swing set like over a sandbox. So my son was in heaven. There were probably a dozen kids there or so total, and he just like spent the whole time running back and forth between the trampoline and the sandbox. He actually really wanted nothing to do with the pool, which is kind of surprising. You know, we brought our stuff. We were prepared to jump in with him if he wanted to go swimming, but he was like, nah, I'm good, which was fine by us. Yeah, so the party was a lot of fun. You know, my son, he really wasn't all that interested in food, so the whole not being able to eat anything wasn't really a big issue. He nibbled a little bit on the stuff we brought for him, but he was way more interested in that trampoline and the sandbox, you know, to really be too concerned with what he could or couldn't have as far as food goes. So that was great. There were a couple small incidents. You know, there was a swing set, like I mentioned, and he did walk in front of it when there was a kid on it and kind of got bonked in the head, went down, got sand in his mouth, so that was not fun, but he was okay. And then he got in sort of a tussle, I guess we'll call it, with an older kid. Kid probably had 6 inches on him or so height-wise, and I think it started out on the trampoline. They were playing tag. It got a little rough. You know, I think the other kid hit him, you know, hit my son. You know, my son hit back, and then they take off running towards the other side, and you know, they kind of hit back and forth a couple times. You know, my son got pushed down, fell over. So of course, you know, all the parents are running, trying to break him up at this point, but nobody got really hurt. My son did cry pretty hard after that. I think he was just frustrated and, you know, didn't really know what to do with that situation. You know, been working really hard with him as far as not hitting at school goes, and here he is being hit by a much older kid. So I'm not sure he knew exactly how to process it, but we just kind of calmed him down, removed him from the situation, and just kind of tried to get him, you know, just try and get him grounded a little bit. So like I mentioned earlier too, we ended up staying much later than we intended. So by the time we were ready to go, both kids were cranky. You know, my older son was playing with toys and he definitely didn't want to leave, so he's crying for that reason. You know, I just got Logan to sleep, but then trying to get him in the car seat, he woke up, so he's crying. So I'm sitting in the back with both kids screaming their heads off. And we had an hour-and-a-half drive in front of us. So I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a rough one. And it was, honestly. You know, I got Camden to calm down, you know, kind of bribed him with some of the treats we brought with us. And he was watching something, you know, I think that finally caught his interest or caught his attention. But Logan here, well, he was not having it, and that frozen milk I brought with me was long since thawed out and a little bit too warm for my comfort because we've been outside all day in nearly 100 degrees. So even though I came prepared with, you know, a hydro flask of really hot water and, you know, a cup to kind of warm everything up in the bottle, we ended up not using the milk at all. So we kind of take like a back way to come home, so we're not on like a major highway. And at one point, you know, he was screaming so loud, I was just like, pull over to my husband. So he did. Thankfully, there was like a picnic area not too far. So he was able to pull over to the side of the road. And I just, you know, pulled him out of the car seat in a safe spot, of course. And, you know, we're like in a parking lot and just kind of nursed him for a little while. Got him to fall asleep and then was able to get him back in his car seat. Of course, once I put him back in his car seat, he immediately woke right back up. But we went back to our window trick where we like roll the window down, kind of let that air flow through and like that white noise really do its magic, and just kind of, he zoned out a little bit and he eventually fell asleep, and thankfully he slept the rest of the way. So that we probably had another 30 minutes or so left when he finally fell asleep. So it was a rough drive. By the time we got home, you know, I was like very tense, like my back was hurting. You know, he's still little enough that I worry about him, you know, like throwing up and aspirating in the car seat and all that stuff. And it's just stressful, and it's just hard to see him that upset, and you really just can't do anything about it. So I was really glad that he finally slept the last 30 minutes or so, but it's a rough drive. So it was really, really great to see everybody. These cousins we probably only see once, maybe twice a year. Like I said, this was the littlest one's first birthday and only the second time we'd seen them. So definitely not family we get to see very often, so it was great to see them. You know, they don't live that far, but still, like everybody's busy, right? And everybody's got other stuff going on. So we unfortunately don't get to see them nearly as often as I think both sides would like. But it was great. It was great. So, and all the kids had a lot of fun, even though we had some few minor incidents as well. So yeah, road trips are hard, you know, even if they're pretty short. I don't even know if you'd really call 2 hours a true road trip, but it was stressful. You know, we tried to go as prepared as we could with, like I said, the fresh milk, the frozen milk, bottles, snacks, food, tablet, you name it. You know, we tried to think of it to have it with us, but it's still hard. So, you know, moms, if you're looking at, you know, trying to take a trip with little ones, whether it's 1, 2, or even like a really new baby, You know, there's things you can try out there, and you know, even some older kids, and like I said, the really little babies, like it's hard, it's stressful. You know, neither one of my kids have done great in the car seat. So everybody's like, oh, they can't sleep, just throw them in the car seat. Nope, not my kids. They're pretty much happy as long as they're anywhere but their car seats. So other moms out there, if you've suffered this, my kid does not sleep in the car seat, man, I feel ya, and it is rough. Thankfully, like I said, I've learned a few tricks over the years to try and help out with it. You know, trying the bottle, I was, clapping and singing, and of course the window trick, little things, here and there to try and get you through. But it's hard. So especially if it's just you and there's not like the option to have help come with, or even if it's a trip that's not necessarily for the kids, the option to leave them maybe with someone and just go without them. So road trips are hard, and it takes a lot of planning and preparation. But if you've got one coming up, I hope it goes well. If you've got some funny stories, so if you've got any, helpful tips or tricks, definitely let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about them. But yeah, as always, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure to grab my email newsletter, and I'll see you next time.